Hey there, Capricorn. How you doing? So this is your 2-week forecast, which I do every new moon and every full moon. So this particular one is going from the new moon in Gemini right the way through to the full moon in Sagittarius on the 11th of June. Now, this is an epic 2-week period, I have to say. There's so much going on. And in fact, if you want to know a lot more about what is going on, I do suggest that you test out my other video called Air to Fire or something like that. It's got that thumbnail on. The reason being is, this 2 weeks, the new moon in Gemini has a really strong air theme, 5 planets in air. And then as we come up to the full moon in Sagittarius, I think we've got 4, possibly 5 in fire. During that time, we've just had Saturn change signs going into a fire sign. And during this particular period on the 9th of June, we've also got Jupiter going into the sign of Cancer. So this is all change. We do have 3 planetary changes, Venus, Mercury, and also Jupiter. So there's a lot to watch out for. Now, in the air to fire forecast, it goes into more about the moon phase and a lot more information about each of the specific aspects. If you like that, and also the Sabian symbols too, it will give you a lot of background information. But anyway, here is an abridged version for you. Before I go any further, though, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who supports my channel, also supports my membership. However you are helping me out, I absolutely love and adore you. So thank you so much. Anyway, let's have a look. Now, I'm going to just look at the new moon in Gemini charts and also the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, you'll see a really big change in their patterns. So, for instance, this new moon in Gemini, it's got a very, very refined look to it, doesn't it? There's a lot of trines, which is showing a certain amount of ease and panache, certain amount of talents. To me, it just feels like there's a lot of opportunity on this day. And then we've got a series, quite a few sextiles, which I really think are the building blocks of, whatever you're trying to build in your life, whatever you're trying to move forwards on, there's a lot of building block activity. To me, it just feels like there's a lot of ease. We do have some squares, these are adding some context to it, and I will mention these as we go through the forecast. But all in all, it's got quite a highly organized feel to it, and it's very, very much in the energy of air. It's really moving forwards. Now, during this time, you'll see that the part of your chart that's highlighted is the 6th house. So there's a very strong emphasis on this 6th house area of your life, which is about how you are organized. Do you have all your stuff organized? Do you have all your things working beautifully, or have you got a few loose ends? Because this is the thing that's going to get really challenged during this time. As we go towards the full moon, the moon will move all the way round to almost the end of Sagittarius, at least 2/3 of the way through, and there it is there. And then the emphasis is between the 6th and the 12th houses. Now, I really do think that the balance between the 6th and the 12th really do give us a sense of your whole story that you're manifesting versus what you're letting go of to create a new place for yourself. So I really do think, at the start of this 2-week forecast, you are really busy thinking in terms about how you can refine and define and further add to all of the things that make up your life and make up the story of your life. But as you're coming over to the time of the full moon in Sagittarius, to me, it feels like there's a lot of things that are changing, and you're realizing that some of your personas need to fall away. So this is really interesting. This is a very sensitive part of your chart, a very intuitive part of your chart. But if you're not feeling very confident, if you've had a knockback or two, this kind of sensitivity can turn inward. And obviously that's not what you want. If you can hear a cat screaming in the background, I just need to get rid of her. 1 second. Oh, pets are so annoying, aren't they? That's better. So my cat's managed. Oh dear, the pleasures of working from home, eh? So anyway, as you'll see with this, I really think where we've got things hidden and things that we're insecure about, I really think that the moon going into this part of the chart is really showing you, like if you're really not ready and you're feeling slightly under par, it can bring up our fears and our insecurities and the possibly some of the behaviors that we might have if we felt scapegoated. So we can get hypersensitive, and that's something to watch out for as the full moon in Sagittarius comes. But my positive take on this is that really during this 2-week period, you've actually got yourself a little worn out, and it's actually time to rest a little bit. A time to invest more in your mental health, your emotional, spiritual health, rather than going at it hammer and tongs all the time, with this list of things you've got to do and need to achieve. So I really think the new moon is definitely setting you on a new path, but 2 weeks in, you're a bit exhausted. And if that path does feel good, try not to take your exhaustion too seriously at the time of the full moon, and then just wait until the next day when the moon comes back into your sign, and then it's time to move again. Now, you might notice that this particular picture looks really chaotic in comparison to the new moon, and you can see how just by planets moving just a little bit forwards, so for instance, Venus is going to move from the tail end of, or 2/3 of the way in Aries, and she's going to put herself into the sign of Taurus. And that's going to be great, actually, because Venus is very happy in Taurus. She rules Taurus as well as Libra, but she's going to be emphasizing everything to do with your creativity, that sense of wanting to love and spread your energy. It's really about how you can lift yourself up and birth new realities for yourself. So Venus coming into Taurus on the 6th, I think is going to really work for you. Before she does that, actually, and I know I was just talking a minute ago about, wrong way, about how this is quite chaotic. And it didn't take much to make it like that. I mean, Venus is moving forwards. You've also got Mercury that moves right the way through to here in just this 2-week period, which is kind of shocking. He's moving really fast. He goes past the sun. By the way, there's going to be a Cazimi on the 1st of June, but he's really moving on. And also the sun has moved, from 6 degrees right the way through to 20 degrees. So just these 3 really moving as they have, and the moon going from around here, it's really connecting the planets in a different way. So it goes to show not much time needs to occur between one pattern that looks quite cohesive and coherent into a feeling of there's too much and it's kind of shouting at you, and there may be some chaos. When I look at this chart, I just think, wow, there is a lot of chaos. There is a lot of energy kind of being pulled in different directions. So that's what I want to work through now. So the things that I really like for you in this particular 2-week period, I do think the 1st of June is a really important day. On that day, Mercury comes into the conjunction with the sun in your 6th house. It's giving you, I think, opportunities and information and a sense of knowing about what you need to do in your life to streamline it, to make it go much more smoothly. And at the same time, Venus is in a conjunction with Chiron. Now, that can bring up a lot of sensitivity at home, for sure. If you're ready for it, it could be quite helpful because it could sort of crack open an area that has been off limits. And I also think, the connection between Venus and Chiron to Mars in the 8th could really help maybe heal or solve or push forwards anything that you've wanted to do to make life a bit easier within your family. So there might be secrets in your family. There might be old insecurities in your family. So to me, it just feels like everything in your life is moving forwards, and the 1st of June is very, very critical because it's affecting you at the home level and also at the business or work level and day-to-day living level. So I think that's helpful. You'll find that not much is happening so much in the 1st week, but in the 2nd week, that's where lots of things are taking place at the same time. So in particular, the 5th is quite an important day. During that day, Venus is in a sextile to Jupiter. These are the 2 benefic planets. And these are working together. They're very helpful. So I do think there's some movement and maybe reparations of anything that needs to be repaired, between your home and how you're organizing your home. That feels quite important. Mercury is in a square with Mars. So, Mercury is around here, sextile to, did I say Mars? Sextile to Mars. So Mercury and Mars working together, I think, is really helping you to do stuff at home again. There is this very strong home and getting your life right kind of vibe going on for you in this 2-week period, Capricorn. Sorry to sound so practical, but yeah, that's one of the big listenings that I have for you. And yeah, here's something that is worth paying a little bit of attention to, and that's Mercury in a square to the North Node. So there is this square between Mercury and the North Node down here and up to the South Node. This is really interesting. I would say around the 5th that it's important to pay attention to what communications have happened in the past that might be relevant right now. You might need to forget a conversation, or if there's been a conversation that has created some difficulties in your family, I would say, okay, it's time to let go of that. You know, there's only so long we can hold on to the past for before it starts to impact our future and make our future really difficult. So whatever's going on around the 5th, it's time to kind of let it go. I think the 8th is also a beautiful day. The 8th and into the 9th, in fact, is quite helpful. Again, there's such a strong energy between the 6th house and then moving into the 7th house. In fact, I'm going to move to the second chart now because you can see it described a little bit better. So we've got Mercury going into Cancer, but before Mercury does go into Cancer, Mercury makes a conjunction with Jupiter. And then on the 9th, they're both in the sign of Cancer and working quite closely together. This is an interesting one because Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces, and then Mercury rules the signs of Virgo and Gemini. So their signs that they ruled are in opposition to each other. So the places where Mercury feel good are the ones where Jupiter feels bad, and vice versa. But having them work together, I think, is quite helpful. You know, Jupiter is really wanting things to expand and to be helpful, and to know the bits of information in the gray, you know, like Mercury's all black and white and let's do it fast and get it done. And, you know, Jupiter is, well, hang on a second. What about the context? What does this mean to you? You know, Jupiter's looking for the truth. And so here I think we've actually got this ability to delve a lot deeper and also get some clarity. This is really offering us a good opportunity, I think. And as they go into the sign of Cancer, I think this is going to open up your relationships in quite a helpful way. The moon is the ruler of your relationships. And, you know, this is happening literally just before the full moon. So there's definitely a lot of energy, lots of strong moon energy that could absolutely influence how you're doing your relationships. And Jupiter and Mercury coming together, I think, is really indicating that it's time for a lot more openness, a lot more depth. It's time to go beyond the black and white in your relationships and to really find out what things mean, but then to be able to find yourself again in that meaning. Do you know what? A lot of this actually reminds me of the 6th house and the 12th house. You know, the 6th house is a place where we're often quite busy and quite rational. And this is the place that most people live their lives in. And yet over here in this kind of irrational, intuitive place, lots of things can get lost. So you can see they're kind of working at odds to each other. But yeah, I really think there's a new possibility in your love life to be a lot more social. Both Mercury and Jupiter are both very social planets, but I really see a social generosity, a social heartwarming. You know, I really see this kind of fluffy social thing where the truth of the matter is explored and understood, and from there a direction of how we're moving forwards can erupt. So I think this is quite helpful. Now, this is just a little taster really about these energies over the next 2 weeks. And if you would like to know more specific information, specifically about your love, I would pay more attention to the sun and the moon and also Venus. Or if you wanted to know a lot more information about your career and ambition, I would use Venus, Saturn, it's also your ruling planet, and Uranus, and also Mercury to really describe the dynamics that are going on. If you would be interested in those, then you might find it useful to come to my membership. With these, every 2 weeks on the new moon and full moon, I release 2 forecasts for every sign of the zodiac. So you don't just have to check out your own ascendant sign or your own sun sign. You can also check those out of your partners, your children, or anyone that is really relevant to you at that day. I also am now doing a daily 5-minute audio guidance or a video a video update about how I think the energies are happening over the day ahead. I post these the day before, so it doesn't matter which time zone you're in, you're going to get them in time. I'm also doing 2 live groupinars, like webinars for the group, the membership, where we can do a lot of exploring and learning. We've really covered some cool subjects so far. I'm also having a little morning drop in, it's during my recording time, but if you have, something you want to talk about, I'm there on a Monday to Friday basis. And just like so much more, if you've thought about getting a consultation, there's 20% off, for instance. So if that sounds like it could be supportive for you, then, come and have a look. Go to school.com/Feel Good Astrology. You get your first for free, your first week free. Thereafter, it's $22 a month. I mean, all in all, you get 4, of these. You get 2 love relationships and 2 love forecasts and 2 career forecasts each month, plus 20 daily forecasts as well. And you can see it's all laid out with these tabs. So you can go to love, success, or daily, etc., and it's all there listed for you to make it easy. So there you go, that's there. There's one more point I wanted to just mention about this, about this forecast, and that would be the energy of this great big cross that's turning up at the time of the full moon. Now, as I'm looking at this, I can really see that it's time to let go of our emotional connections, our old connections from the past, those connections that have encouraged our overall emotionalism, anywhere where we've got these emotional kind of routines, how we are flying up and so on and so forth. These old emotional routines are based on habits, and they're based on all those behaviors are based on your old belief systems about yourself. And in particular, around the time of this full moon, I really think it's time to review those. If you start to feel something come up and you think, oh God, here we go, this is my usual routine, it's time to take stock and just have a look. Where you're doing that, it's preventing you from really moving forwards, free of triggering, free of distractions. And what I really see at this time is you're really wanting greater clarity and to move beyond the confusion. So I'm going to leave that there with you, Capricorn. I hope you found this useful. If I can be of any help, then just get in touch. All of my details are below as usual. But anyway, loads of love to you. Take care. Bye for now.